Nobody expected Santa to lose his temper that day. The street was alive with music, laughter, and flashing Christmas lights when it happened. People were smiling. Phones were out. Kids were lined up, waiting their turn for a small gift and a big moment of joy. Then Santa snapped. Not quietly, not privately, but loud enough that the entire block froze. A child stood there, clutching a gift bag, eyes wide with confusion. The laughter stopped. The music faded into the background. And in that moment, something about the scene felt deeply wrong. Because Christmas is supposed to be about kindness. And this wasn't kindness at all. Before we go any further, tap like if you believe children deserve respect, no matter who they are or where they come from. Now let me ask you this. What would you have done if you were standing there when joy turned uncomfortable in seconds? It was one of those neighborhood streets that looks like a holiday postcard. String lights stretched from lamppost to lamppost. A portable speaker played old-school Christmas songs. Vendors handed out hot chocolate in paper cups that steamed in the cold air. Parents laughed. Kids bounced on their toes, excitement written all over their faces. At the center of it all stood a man dressed as Santa Claus. Red suit, white beard, black boots. He looked the part so well that people trusted him instantly. This wasn't a mall. This wasn't a store-sponsored event. Just a man giving out small gifts to kids passing by, candy canes, toy cars, stuffed animals. Nothing fancy. But for the children, it was magic. One by one, kids stepped forward. Santa smiled. Parents filmed. Strangers clapped. Then a child stepped up like all the others. No pushing. No shouting. No misbehavior. Just a kid doing exactly what kids do, standing there, unsure, waiting to be told what to do next. And that's when the moment cracked. At first, no one understood what was wrong. Santa's smile faded.
His voice changed. Sharp.
Impatient. He accused the child of doing something wrong, something so small it barely made sense. Maybe standing too close. Maybe reaching too early. Maybe just not reacting the way Santa expected. But the reaction didn't match the moment. His voice rose. His words carried. And suddenly, every camera turned in the same direction. The child froze. Not crying. Not arguing.
Just confused.
That confusion is what made it worse. Because this wasn't a tantrum. This wasn't defiance. It was a kid trying to understand why the person everyone trusted, the symbol of Christmas itself, was suddenly angry at them. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Some people looked away. Some whispered. Some kept filming. And standing there, watching it unfold, you could feel it, that invisible question hanging in the air. Is someone going to say something, or are we really going to let this slide? Pause for a second. If you were there, right there on that street, what would you have done? Drop a comment later. I want to know. Moments like this don't last long, but they reveal everything. You could see it on people's faces. One woman frowned, then checked her phone. A man shook his head but stayed silent. A couple whispered, "That's not right," and took a step back. Phones stayed up. Voices stayed down. Because speaking up is uncomfortable, and silence feels safer. But not everyone looked away. One adult, not loud, not dramatic, noticed something others missed. The child's hands were shaking. Not from fear exactly, but from embarrassment. Because being corrected is one thing. Being corrected publicly, by someone in a costume everyone else trusts, is something else entirely. This adult hesitated. You could see the calculation. What if I make it worse? What if I'm wrong? What if people turn on me instead? But then they looked at the child again. And that hesitation faded. Because silence in moments like this isn't neutral. It takes sides. The adult stepped forward calmly. No yelling. No insults. No aggression. Just a steady voice cutting through the tension.
Hey, they said.
That's a kid. There's no need to talk to them like that. The street went quiet. Santa turned, clearly startled. For a moment, he tried to defend himself. Said the child wasn't listening. Said he was just keeping order. Said people were overreacting. But the words didn't land. Because now the focus had shifted. It wasn't about rules. It wasn't about control.
It was about respect.
The adult didn't raise their voice. They didn't attack. They simply asked, "Would you talk to your own child like that in front of everyone?" That question hit harder than shouting ever could. People stopped filming. Some nodded. Others finally spoke up, quietly but clearly. "This is supposed to be fun. He didn't do anything wrong. Come on, man." And just like that, the costume stopped protecting him. If this moment resonates with you, comment, "I would have spoken up," or "I wish I had." Because a lot of us have been there. Santa looked around and realized something important. The crowd wasn't with him anymore. Not angry. Not hostile. Just disappointed. The kind of disappointment that forces reflection. For the first time, he saw himself not as Santa, but as a grown man who had snapped at a child in public. The red suit suddenly felt heavy. Costumes can hide behavior, but they can't erase consequences. He muttered something under his breath, not an apology yet, but not defensiveness either. More like confusion. Like someone realizing they'd crossed a line they didn't even know existed. That's the thing about moments like this. They don't announce themselves as lessons. They just arrive. Uncomfortable.
Public.
Unavoidable. And what happens next determines who you are. The adult turned back to the child. They crouched down to eye level. Soft voice. Calm smile. "You didn't do anything wrong," they said. "Okay." The child nodded slowly. That simple sentence mattered more than any apology ever could. Another bystander stepped forward with a small gift, something extra. Not to make a scene, not to shame anyone, just to restore what had been taken. The child smiled again. Not a big smile. Not a dramatic one. But a real one. The kind that says, "I feel safe again." The crowd relaxed. The tension lifted. Christmas returned to the street, not because of the costume, but because people chose decency. This wasn't really about Santa. It was about something deeper. Because moments like this happen everywhere: schools, stores, parks, neighborhoods. Sometimes loudly. Sometimes quietly. Bias doesn't always look like hatred. Sometimes it looks like impatience, assumptions, unequal reactions to the same behavior. And children feel it first. That's why accountability matters. Not to cancel.
Not to shame, but to protect.
Have you ever witnessed something wrong and stayed quiet because it felt easier? Most of us have. And that doesn't make us bad people, but it does mean we have a choice next time. Christmas isn't about costumes. It's about who we choose to be when no one expects us to speak up. That day, a street Santa learned a hard lesson about respect, but a child learned something more important. That their dignity mattered. That adults would stand up for them. That silence isn't the only option. And maybe that's the kind of story worth telling. If you believe storytelling should challenge injustice, not ignore it, subscribe. Share this story so the next time joy turns uncomfortable, someone finds the courage to speak up. Because real kindness doesn't wear a costume. It shows up when it counts.